Well, hello everybody, it is your friendly fishmonger, Dan, from dansfish.com, and today we are going to talk about the zebra loach, one of my favorite loaches. I think a better fit for aquariums than the clown loach, and I'm going to explain why, so let's take a look. Alright, so here they are, these little loaches, and I like zebra loaches a ton, and I want to explain why I think they're an ideal community aquarium fish and better than the clown loach for most aquariums. So first off, they only get to about 4 inches, so they're not going to get huge, whereas a clown loach can get 16 inches. So you need a massive aquarium if you're going to keep a group of clown loaches, whereas if you're going to keep a group of zebra loaches, you don't need a huge tank. And one thing I should say is that boteid loaches, like zebra loaches and clown loaches, do need to be kept in groups. They're very social fish. They create a social hierarchy, and if you don't have a group, then they're not going to be happy. So 6 or more the merrier, for sure. So keeping a group of large full-grown clown loaches, 12 to 16 inches, is going to take a massive tank, but you can do it in a fairly reasonable sized tank with a fish that only gets 4 inches. So size is the number one reason why I think the clown loach is better than the zebra loach for most aquariums. Now the other reason is coloration. Now the little clown loaches we see in pet stores and see the pictures of, they're gorgeous. They're bright yellow, red, orange tail, in stark black stripes, so they're a beautiful coloration. But what some folks don't realize is as the clown loach matures, those colors fade. A mature clown loach is pretty much a beige fish with some light gray or darker beige saddles on it. Those black, stark black colorations fade and the yellow fades. So you get some contrast, but they're not nearly as colorful as they are when they're little. So zebra loaches keep their color their entire life, and so you're going to have a pretty brightly colored fish even when it matures, whereas clown loaches, their color fades. Now as far as attitude and comportment, they're both about the same. They're both extremely friendly fish. They don't bother other fish. They're a perfect citizen in a community aquarium. So it's basically size and color is where the difference comes in. And one thing about clown loaches is when you buy them in the store and they're 1.5 inches, 3 inches or so, that's a baby. So you have to treat it like you're raising fry. So you have to feed it a ton, clean the water a ton, otherwise you'll stunt their growth. With a zebra loach, if you get a 3-4 inch zebra loach, it's already well matured, and so you can treat it like an adult. You don't have to feed it as much, you don't have to do as many water changes, things like that. So that's why I like the zebra loach better than the clown loach for normal aquariums. A couple things about them. They're from India. They tolerate a wide range of temperatures, maybe 73 degrees or so to the low 80s. I keep mine at about 75 to 77 degrees. They do great. And in fact, that's an advantage too. Clown loaches need to be kept hot. Clown loaches like it in the 80s for sure. And one thing about them is clown loaches often succumb to ick. When you get a fresh buy-in or bring in clown loaches into the aquarium, odds are you're going to get ick and some other things. Whereas these little zebra loaches, they tend to be pretty darn hardy even when you first get them in, at least in my experience. So they can take a wide range of temperature parameters. Anywhere in the 70s is probably good. 73 again to about 72 or so would probably be fine. Now they do come from mountain streams in western India, and so in India anyway. I'm not sure if they're western India, and so they are used to clean water with a good oxygen content. So make sure you keep that in mind. Now I just keep mine with sponge filters and a box filter, and they do fine. But I also change at least 30% of the water, 33% of the water every day to keep the water chemically really clean. And so just keep that in mind. They need clean water and high dissolved oxygen. These guys, I mentioned before, you need to keep them in groups. That's really true. I'm not saying that as a salesman saying, get a big group because then, make a ton of money. Wherever you get them from, please buy a group. 12 is a great number. If you get 12 of them, you're going to see some amazing behavior. Now, they do need to have places to hide. In this aquarium, I have a bunch of pieces of pipe in there that they use for that, and some other structures in the tank that they can hide in. If you don't give them places to hide, they're never going to settle in. They won't ever be comfortable. And then they're going to hide all the time. Ironically, if you give them lots of places to hide, they're going to feel very comfortable and they're not going to hide as much. Something else about zebra loaches is they're pretty active during the day. Clown loaches are often more active at night. These guys are out and about all day long. And feeding them is not a problem at all. They'll eat flake food, they'll eat pellet food, they'll eat frozen foods, brine shrimp, bloodworms, what have you. They'll eat live food, they'll eat rapashi. So they are not a problem to feed. Super easy to feed, super easy to take care of. Nice, easy fish. And the coloration on these guys I think is pretty awesome. As they swim up to the front of the tank, you'll see some bright yellow on them. So those light stripes, they're actually a bright yellow color. And then the kind of gray or black stripes contrast that, so you get the name zebra loach. Now they're in here with guppies. They don't bother them at all. They're in here with draped fin barbs. They don't bother them at all. Again, super peaceful. Something to be aware of on botiad loaches is that they do have a defensive mechanism. So underneath their eye, there's a spine, one on each side. So one spine per eye. And when they're stressed or feel threatened or what have you, they'll pop that out and it'll stick out. And it's really sharp. And so the main reason I'm mentioning that is because when you net these guys, you have to be really careful to use a net that they can't tangle their spine in. Because if that spine got stuck in the net, you could really injure the loach. And being that it's right, it pops out under their eyeball, it's in a pretty sensitive place. So please keep that in mind if you get these loaches. When you unbag them or whenever you need to transport them from aquarium to aquarium or whatever, be aware of that spine, that defensive mechanism. Now these guys haven't been bred in captivity that I know of. Like most botiads, they're not bred in captivity. Some farms breed them by injecting hormones, but natural hobbyist breeding, if you will, hasn't taken place as far as I know. Same with like clown loaches in the other botiads that I'm aware of anyway. So there's got to be some kind of trigger, some kind of cycle that we're missing. So they're not a species, if you're into captive breeding, that is going to be an easy one to spawn. Hopefully someday we'll crack the code, but I don't think we're even close so far, to tell you the truth. So just keep that in mind as well. Now these guys tend to ship well. So if you get them, they tend to be hardy and arrive in good shape. So they're, again, a great loach to start with. Now there's a great book on loaches if you're into loaches. It's by TFH and it's called Loaches, surprisingly, right? And so it has great information about the different habitats, the different families of loaches and how they're kind of grouped together. There's many different species. And so I would recommend getting that book if you're into loaches. And the other place you can go for great information is loaches.com. In fact, it's the loaches.com folks that wrote the book Loaches. And so here's a little different view of the tank. You can see a little more of the pipe, although it's kind of glowing there because it's white pipe. But so you can go to loaches.com and get a lot of the information from the book there as well. So these are my all-time favorite loach, I think. I do like Hillstream loaches quite a bit as well. Hillstreams have some more specialized requirements, I suppose is how I describe it, than these guys do. These guys will settle into almost any, peaceful community aquarium. Now, I will say that I've worked at places that tried to keep loaches with African cichlids, thinking that the subocular spines would be enough protection against them. Clown loaches usually were the loach of choice in that case. And I've never seen it really work really well. Loaches are pretty soft-bodied. I think they're scaleless. And so it's pretty easy for them to get hurt if they're bit or anything like that. So I would just keep in mind that when I say great community fish, I'm talking about a peaceful community tank. not an aggressive community tank in general. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on the loaches. Hardy fish, keeps its color, stays small, great attitude, not prone to getting ick when you first get it, not a baby that you have to feed tremendous amounts of food and change tremendous amounts of water to keep healthy. And I think their coloration and their behavior is just so endearing. Again, get a group. If you get one or two, I mean, they'll probably live, but they're not going to thrive, and you're going to miss out on some amazing behavior. So I hope you like this on the loaches. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. We're always happy to geek out on fish. And again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.